If you're like many people, when you begin a health and wellness journey, the very first thing that you think about is your food. And that's certainly a great place to start, but it turns out that our state of well-being is about more than food. When it comes to holistic wellness, there are other things that we need to keep in mind, that we need to incorporate. And that's why I am delighted to be sharing my dear friend, Mary Ellen O'Brien, with you today. Let me tell you just a little bit about her, and then we are going to get started. Mary Ellen O'Brien is a soul alignment coach. She helps her clients reconnect to their true essences, uncover their unique gifts and inner guidance. And then once they stay centered consistently, they're able to find more meaning and purpose in their lives. They're able to free up time and energy for what matters most to them. Mary Ellen believes that when we consistently align with the frequency of our higher self, everything else follows. Over the last 15 years, she's developed a practical step-by-step process where she guides her clients to find more passion, meaning, and purpose in their work and life. Mary Ellen, hello and welcome.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I love how you describe yourself as a soul alignment coach, because I think so many of us tend to disregard that internal life, that inner need.
Absolutely. And I also call it your true essence, your higher self. And it's really that part of ourselves that we do unfortunately lose touch with over time. And it's unfortunate because when you're disconnected with your true essence, so many things that shouldn't be so large and huge obstacles become so much bigger than they need to be because we're not connected to ourselves. That's what I love to help people do.
So I know one of the things that you talk about a lot is the ability for us to tap into our inner voice. There's so much noise and chaos all around us. And as humans, we're programmed to be hyper alert to all of that, that we lose the ability to slow down or calm down. But what exactly is that inner voice and how do we connect to it?
Yes, and I have been on this journey for over 20 years of developing my own intuition and helping other people as well. And it's your inner guidance, it's that inner voice that I see it as having, we all have 100 radio stations, and it's the external world, it's our family, it's our jobs, it's the news, the what's going on with everything right now is so loud. It's like all these radio stations that are competing and blaring with each other. And in order to hear your inner voice, it's required to do the work so that you can really find that very subtle station out of 100. It's a quieter station and we need to find it and then turn up the volume. So I'll talk about some tips, but I see it absolutely as this, once we do find it and then turn up the volume, it's what we can have. It can be our base point and our set point, and it can help us make the decisions and also create time and energy for what matters to us. So when we lose touch with that voice, we're just like a sailboat in a hurricane. And when we find that voice, we can be the ones creating our life rather than reacting to life.
And that's such an important point, because I feel like none of us learn this as children. We don't learn how to tap into that inner voice. We don't even learn how to appreciate it, I think. We're often taught to dismiss that.
Yeah. And what I've noticed with my work is that so many people dismiss it in all these really tricky, subtle ways where other people's opinions matter too much. They're too loud and paid attention to more than our own knowing. And I know that it's often said that people say, I just knew deep down I should not have taken that job. I should have left sooner. I knew deep down I should have left that relationship, or I should have moved, or whatever their life situation is, or their physical health. And when deep down, it's so subtle that it's so deep down, but I like to bring it to the surface so that it's not this thing that we notice after something happens and we go off track.
And so how do you let's be honest, the external noise, like I have gone from telling people to do a 1-day media fast to doing a 3-day media fast these days, and it still gets in, like it's overwhelming. And then because of the situation with the pandemic and everything else, there's a lot of family pressures, a lot of chaos and managing other things. How do you learn how to set all of that aside so that you can tune in?
I know, and it seems like it might be so complicated and the opposite so difficult, but what I love to help people do is just step by step. It's really a muscle that we can strengthen. And it's obviously, if you go to a personal trainer and you're accountable and you just do step by step, you know you're going to feel better in your body. You're going to be more fit physically. So this is the same kind of thing with your awareness. It's really strengthening your awareness so that you can know what's you and what's not you, and begin to strengthen the muscles so that you can hear your own inner voice and reconnect to you. And there's nothing more freeing. And it leads to all of our goals and desires, whether it's health goals, relationship, career, home, or even your side projects and pursuits. And so I'll mention that I know it sounds really almost impossible to do in this current climate. However, it is possible, because what I recommend is, in order to begin strengthening the muscle, I do recommend having everyone come up with a list of 10 activities that really charge your battery and feed your spirit. I say that it's a little more than just pampering yourself or just self-care. It's really these going back into your past and thinking about activities that you used to love to do when you were little, and thinking about a variety of activities now that do charge your battery, whether it's walks in nature or learning or introspective or social connecting or solving puzzles. So many people, everyone has a different list, honestly. So when you come up with your own list, that can change over time. It's helpful to then pick 3 of those things that you know deep down you love to do, that light you up, that charge your battery, and then carve out time this coming week, the next 7 days, carve out time where you can actually commit to doing those. And also, in order to say yes to those, you have to say no to other things. And I recommend media, to technology, to replace the technology. And then it's really interesting, because once you begin doing those things, and even if it's taking a short 10-minute drive, it helps give your brain a little job to do. Or if you're gardening or creative projects of writing and drawing and painting, it gives your brain a little job to do. And then you open a space for your thoughts and your good ideas and your creativity that are always supportive and positive to come through all the noise. It breaks through the noise. And it's a process, but it's so freeing when you begin to have your own feedback loop that, yes, I knew that I wanted to go check out this nearby town and go antiquing. And then you carve out the time and do it. And then you find all these hidden treasures. And that's just one example. So it can be possible, but I do think that it requires turning down the noise of the external noise, turning down a lot of that in order to turn up the inner voice volume.
And that sounds so refreshing. And I think for a lot of people, though, one of the challenges when we think of doing things like that, setting aside time for ourselves, the very first word that comes up is guilty.
Yes.
I feel guilty about doing this for me. How do we let go of that guilt?
I know. And this is something I really work a lot on with my clients, because if you just have this limiting belief that once I get everything done for everyone else and everything on my to-do list, then I might be able to take 10 minutes to read my fabulous book that makes me feel wonderful. And that, if we flip that and start to even take a leap of faith and trust that when we begin carving out the time for us, we have more of us to share with everyone around us. So I have several clients right now who are caretaking family members, and you would think they absolutely couldn't find enough time for themselves, but they get depleted and drained very quickly if all they're doing is giving. We all know this, but it's a really important distinction. So even finding some of these people that are needing to be there for others, can tap in and connect so quickly now because they've built the muscle. So it can be a 2-minute practice of
Oh,
breathing.
wow. So
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be like
no,
a
like a
huge
whole day trip,
thing.
which I mentioned.
Yeah.
Like a little too much time, possibly for the beginning step, a whole day to another town, like I said. But once you start to strengthen this muscle, you'll see that you can tell when people have that spark in their eyes, and it's something you can have even though you have a lot of responsibilities in your life. And I think that there's a conflicting beliefs there that you can actually be connected and charge your battery, and you can also be there for others. Yeah.
I think it's a hard concept for us because it's not something societally that is really supported or seen as valuable.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, at the beginning, I talked about the fact that this is a holistic strategy and we are whole beings more than just what we eat. So incorporating a strategy like this as part of your self-care, health work, whatever, how does this complement or help support your journey towards well-being?
Yes. So I work with a lot of health coaches and nutritionally health conscious and people who have their health and their physical health as their number one goal. So other people that I work with, it's their soul's work that they really want to make a difference and find meaning in their work. But I have a lot of people who are focused on improving their health and have that as their main focus. And this work really helps because I love working with people that are in touch with their body and what they're eating and they're conscious about it, because then you actually have even more awareness of those subtle changes that happen when you start to strengthen this muscle, as opposed to if you are always putting other people first, you're going to feel that depleted feeling much sooner than the average person because you're aware of your physical body and the changes. So if you take these simple steps to strengthen the muscle, it absolutely helps you achieve all of your goals because you're then more centered and clear. So everyone knows that feeling of feeling centered. And
Mhm.
even when you're so busy, you can still find those times where you feel really centered. And you know that when you're centered, you get so much more done and there are shortcuts that show up. So do you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you can also be really busy and have 1,000 things going on and be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So this is really helping you get centered. And once you're centered, you can accomplish your goals and especially your health and physical.
And that sounds really great. I think one thing that could be challenging for some people, as I was saying, and you addressed this, how guilty is one of the first things that comes up. I think, and I know I certainly struggle with this from time to time. I know many other people do as well. We're not very nice to ourselves. Like sometimes my inner voice is not a very nice one. So how do we learn to be kinder, and when we're going internal, to not sit there and all of a sudden turn it into this litany of everything that you didn't do or didn't happen or missed or something or whatever, and instead turn it into that more positive, guiding, gentle, supportive voice.
I know. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it's almost like the competing forces within us. We have this one aspect that's really, it's limiting. It's the inner critic or even the external critics. It's very limiting because it's a part of us that I believe is just trying to keep us safe. But if we're always in that fight or flight, looking out for danger, that's where most of it's a little negatively biased, our thoughts.
Yeah.
So we're judging others and ourselves a little too much, even though it's just to protect us, but it goes haywire, in my opinion. It's like an outdated computer program that is always seeking danger and then it's negative. So if you're having a lot of those inner critic voices that say, who do I think I am that I could have
Yeah.
a fabulous relationship and wonderful health and physical vitality and work that's meaningful? So that gets in the way of this other aspect of us, your true
Yeah.
essence and this really supportive. voice that says you can do it, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and this is a bridge to where you're going. So we all have this voice that's more supportive. And that's the fine tuning of that station that we want to find. So I do, when I work with people, a big aspect is taming your inner critic. And I'll give you a nice exercise that will help everyone. And it's beginning to become aware of that really mean voice, because it has all the power. It's driving the car. If we're not aware of it, it has all the power. And once we start to notice it and we say, wow, every time I try to start a new health program or a diet or an exercise thing, I have this really mean voice that says you can't do it. Or there's a tricky one that says after you're successful for a few days, it says, okay, now you can go off of it because you've been good and you earned it. That's also an inner critic voice. It's
I
very,
never thought about that, but that's a really good point. A lot of my clients get very sidetracked there. They do really well. And the break point seems to be somewhere around 10 days.
yeah. And I bet you that they let up on that drive and that excitement for the vision that they saw as possible. And then those little voices started slipping in and saying, either you earned it and you can slack off now because you've done so well. So the trick is, the exercise and tip is to start to notice. So maybe this week, just write down 3 mean things that you know you say to yourself as it relates to whatever goal you're focusing on now. We don't want to have 100 going on. We just want to look at your current goal and what are the 3 things you tell yourself that you know are very mean. And then the really challenging part, this is where we're strengthening the muscle, is to simply notice it ahead of time while it's as early as possible. Because if we don't notice it, like I said, it's driving the car. But if we begin to notice it more and more, we can say, oh yeah, there it is. I was expecting that voice to come, but I'm not really going to pay too much attention. I'm going to go back to what I know, which is that I am doing this. And this is going to be really good for me if after 7 days I commit and I succeed in doing what I set out to. It's that those 2 different voices are very different.
Mary Ellen, this has been amazing. Like, you've shared some really great tips and a lot to think about. I think this is a lot for people to process. Hopefully something that they feel an invitation to add into their taking care of themselves and being part of their wellness journey. If someone wanted to connect with you a little bit more, how would they reach you?
So my website is awakenyourtrueessence.com. And my program is very short. I have an 8-week program that guides you step by step, and it has video lessons and homework so that it's really easy to do. And then, of course, it includes individual sessions with me. So that's my powerful signature program. And then right now I have a free series called Find Your True Center. So that's exciting because it's broken out into 3 different videos and topics. One is amplifying your inner guidance, like we're talking about today. Another one is discovering your unique gifts. And then another one is getting unstuck and taking incremental action. So it's these bite-sized video lessons with homework that can help you start to strengthen this muscle. So I really hope that.
Wow, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and it's really helping people get started, because the overwhelm is I just don't want people to experience that for too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your thoughtfulness with us. It's been really wonderful to talk with you. Folks, I will put the links down below. Please be sure to check out Mary Ellen's wonderful free offer. And I also want to encourage you to click subscribe. Let's stay connected so I can share more wonderful guests and more fabulous information with you. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, be well, and have a healthy day. Bye now.
Thank you so much.